Okay, cool. So here's my plan for today's masterclass. There's a few of you, or most of you, or some of you know who I am. You kind of know what I'm about. I would love to get into Q&A quickly if we could, because that's where there's like a lot of magic. That's where there's a lot of value that's going to happen. And there are no dumb questions. If you're thinking of the question, I guarantee there's 5 or 10 or other people that are here on this call. They probably have the same question, or it's going to help them with their business. So I wanted to cover 3 basic topics today. So I was going to go for about 10 or 15 minutes and just cover those topics and then go straight into Q&A so we can really help you scale your business, what's going on in your business, where are the pain points that a lot of us are feeling right now, and then how to basically work through those. So a big thing, in my humble opinion, for the space of real estate is who knows you, likes you, and trusts you. So if you're a newer agent, and I was just having to sit down with one of our new agents yesterday, literally around the fear of letting your friends and family know that like this is what you're doing now, or this is like some kind of a career change that you've made, or it's just time to re-engage with your past clients. It's time to re-engage with people. So I really want to stand on the fact that like being the local expert is real. Being the local expert that people think of when they think of those 2 words together, real estate, is literally my team's #1 focus. If those 2 words pop into somebody's head, I don't care if it's in the luxury space, I don't care if it's in the investing space, commercial, probate, I don't care. If you think of real estate, I want my face to hit your subconscious mind. And there's only a couple ways to accomplish that. It's to be the true local expert, but it's to hammer them with content. It's to hammer them with stuff in the mail, like these market updates that we do through this amazing brokerage at Fiv. The tools at Fiv are ridiculous. You just have to, ask for them. You have to pay for them. You have to help them help you invest in your business. So being a true like local expert, it's never been easier in the history of the world. It would cost 200 grand to just create a commercial 20 years ago. And then it would cost another 200 grand to distribute it on like 2, 4, 7, 11, all these like platforms. Now we have these platforms where it's free. But we get stuck in our own fears and we get stuck in our own stuff that we're not willing to break free from it. And I get it. I did the same thing. I was in that place where no one knew who I was. I didn't have a website. And about 7 years ago, I decided to change that and went all in. And when I did that, all those same fears that you guys feel came up. But my friends from high school came at me. Andy's lost his mind. My friends and family are like, he's doing this for his ego. And I was just like, what are you people doing? Like, I'm trying to help. So I understand those fears, but like literally holding a cell phone like this and say, hey, how's it going, guys? Oh, and here's a little hack too, by the way. Each degree you go up takes about 10 pounds off of you. Proven fact. So if you're sitting here and your phone's low like this and you're getting it, I got like 17 chins and I'm like this, it's a bad look. So I try to get this camera where I'm going to look, the best. So anyways, that's a little hack I learned from this unbelievable team in New York. So I like to share that with everybody. But it's never been easier to be like, hey, what's happening, guys? I am right in front of like Smith & Jones sandwich shop. I've been coming here since I was a kid. I love this place. If you haven't been here yet, they're unbelievable. Send. That's in your stories. That's in your Facebook. And you tag them in that. And then you geotag with the location, right? We all have Instagram. We all have Facebook. And then you tag them in it. And you don't say anything. You just basically, you're showcasing or you're spotlighting their business. And it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a nail salon. It could be just like, you want to be in the community. And when you're in the community and you're also like literally doing your stuff with real estate and your touches, it'll all start to work. The problem is we live in a TikTok world. We have a 7-second bandwidth and we're off to the next. We have a swipe left and right for dating. Everything is like, how can I get more faster? And a thing I really want to talk to you folks about today is like not getting caught up in your followers and like value, like really going deep, not just why. And I was talking to Nazar about this yesterday, and he's like, well, yeah, that's easy for you to say because you have 500,000 followers. And I'm like, I totally get it, but I've actually changed my position on that. Because if you have 2,000 followers, excuse me, and 200 of them like will transact with you over the next 3 to 4 years, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars in net income. This whole thing on social media, these are business tools to create income, not likes and comments and shares. That's all part of it. Branding's important. But I was also like, so when I first launched this thing, this brand, I had a very different goal and target than I do now. My goal was to have a global brand because I was literally raising capital from all over the world to invest in properties here, all over the country, and syndications. Plus, I had a coaching platform. So like I was trying to create a global presence. Now I would trade half my followers that are never going to do business with me, but they like me and they follow me, and I appreciate that. But they're not going to do business with me because they're watching me from afar. I would trade them all to have every person that live in my 2 farms, which is about 4,000 homes, to have them all follow me. I would trade half of my followers, if not more, because I'm trying to affect change in my business for my family, where I'm at for me. So I've shifted my business model. Branding is important. The more people that know you, the better. I totally agree. Advertising is also important. Co-branding is important, and marketing is important. Those are things. This is literally a belly-to-belly business, though. The #1 guy that's in my market does 0 marketing, 0, and never has. But he goes to the yacht club. He goes to all the things. He walks his dog in the neighborhood every day. He talks to people. He's been doing it for 47 years. He has created a massive business. And I was even trying to get him to do social. And he's just like, I don't want more business. I'm already too busy. And that's an old school philosophy, but it's his. So there's so many ways to win in this game, but I don't want people to get stuck in what should I post? How do I post? If you just type into Google real estate news, you'll have thousands of videos, and then you're current. I love the company Keeping Current Matters. They've taken all the guesswork out of the stuff I need to do, right? I'll just literally go on to Keeping Current Matters, and I'll just post a graphic, and then I'll talk about it. But it's being consistent with your social that helps. So I really wanted to stand on social media. I also wanted to really get you guys clear on you're an investor. You are an investor that just so happens to be a realtor, and you sell traditional real estate. But when you start taking that power and that control, and that's a mindset that I've had since the beginning. I'm getting into real estate to be an investor. I want to change my family's lineage. I want to change what everything has looked like in my for generations. There's only one way to do that. If you're a transactional agent, if you're a transactional broker, and you're going from buyer to listing, buyer to seller, buyer, all you're doing is transactional. It is so difficult to make enough money where you can work less and actually have an exit. So when you buy a duplex, or you buy a triplex, or you buy a fourplex, you bite the bullet and you save that money, you actually invest in an income property. You have higher level conversations with your clients. Because if you're trying to sell them a duplex and be like, hey, you know what? I just closed on one. We got an amazing triplex. We're going to put like an ADU in the back. I'm super excited for my family because the main house is going to cover everything. Mortgage, taxes, expenses. I'll maybe cash flow like $200. Not great, but still, it's a fully stabilized asset. But the ADU I'm going to build for $100,000 is going to bring me in at least $2,000 a month for the rest of my kid's life. And that's if we never raise the rent. Plus, that instantly added $300,000 in equity. So now I have a piggy bank. So it's just, I want this so bad for everybody, that because I know how painfully easy it is. I also know how painfully hard it is to save enough capital to make it happen. So sometimes strategic partnerships are important. Sometimes, like, I don't know, here's the thing with families too. Some of your aunts and uncles have 20, 30, 40 grand sitting around that you don't know about. And they would love to invest in something that made sense, but they're afraid. And you could be that knowledge broker. You could be that person to help them. You partner, you find the deal, they bring the capital. There's so many different ways to structure these things. But fear and scarcity mindset is the number one balloon popper of all these ideas. The scarcity mindset will keep you stuck. It kept my family stuck for generations. And I had just enough pressure, and I felt just enough squeeze as a kid. Being dirt poor with nothing is hard. It's really hard. And if that's all you see, you get programmed that struggling is just part of life. I just don't believe that to be true. I'm a very spiritual guy, like very deeply spiritual human being, super connected to God. Like, I believe like what you ask for, you'll get. Like, you will get it. You got to put in the work, and you got to just, you have to line up in the correct energy, but I believe you will get it. So a big thing for me is like being that true local expert and going all in. And you guys have probably heard these things on memes. And if you guys are on social like I am, people grossly underestimate what they can accomplish in a year. And they wildly underestimate what they can accomplish in 5 or 10. When I got into real estate, I had $400 left in the bank. It was a wrap for me. I was broke, and I was 30 years old. Now I'm in my mid 40s. And by about 5 years into my 30s, when I was going nuts into real estate, I was like, oh, wow, my life looks real different. And I bought a couple properties, didn't do anything with them, and now they're just worth a lot of money. So I got a little lucky, but I was also like right place, right time, and willing to take a risk. And I want that for everybody in this room and on this call. If you could save 20% of your commissions, I know it seems like a lot. You're like, Andy, I'm barely getting by now. I get it. So what I've also learned is we're very quick to tell ourselves stories of how we can't do it. And it's too hard, because when it doesn't work, now we have an out. Now we have an excuse. If you're just like, I'm going to figure this out. I am going, like, when you decide, I also believe that God, universe is like, they're waiting for that definitive decision. I'm going all in on social. And then you just do, and then you put yourself in the energy and in the work. You'll make it happen. I'm going to flip my first house this year. I believe a deal will show up out of nowhere. I just believe it because I've seen it. I've seen it over and over again in my life and other people's. So I just wanted to take time today to like really try to empower you folks in try to become the local expert, and then you can grow and scale out from there. I know unbelievable realtors that don't do business outside of a 10-mile radius and make $1 million a year. And it's their life, their family. But you know what? It took them 10 years. Your first couple of years in this business are a grind. It's hard. That's why after 4, we have an 86% fail rate. People are out. It's too hard. It's easy to get in, and it's hard to get rolling and stay in. So you should all be super proud of yourselves. And I would love to kind of roll the Q&A to see if I can help, or if you have questions about marketing, or hey, what's maybe working in your business, Andy? Or like, how do I even find investors? Or, how do I partner with some teammates and maybe we form an LLC and we buy our first little duplex together? So I am open to any and all questions. I'm an open book. I will share from the heart, as I always do. So if you guys have questions or anything, you can shoot them in the comments. I'm going to see if I can pull up the comments section. Here we go, chat. I'm also not very good at this stuff. So if you guys want to drop your questions into the comments, or if you just want to click off your camera and take yourself off of mute, that's actually easier for me. So it's ever easier for you guys.
Hey, Andy, Omar.
What's up, Omar?
What's going on? So question for you, man. This is all, I love it. This resonates with me substantially. At what point, when you first started your career of selling real estate, just buying, selling, creating, commission, at what point did you make that transition to wanting to buy doors? And maybe you can share that with everybody, because that's a really important part of being a real estate agent.
Yeah, no, super good question, Omar. And I've got actually three life-changing quick stories. The first one was I had no money, like zero, but I was a hustler and I hit the market really well. And I was able to stack some money very quickly. I was able to stack 5,000 my first deal, and then 10,000. So within 4 months, I had just about $60,000. I was going full gas, and I had an opportunity because the firm I was working at was flipping houses and they were starting to buy multifamily. I was able to buy 3% of that deal. My buy-in for 3% of that 10-unit building was $47,000. So I had finally had like 5 figures in my bank account, was feeling pretty good inside. All those old stories kept coming in. Ooh, I got it. Ego started to grow a little bit. And I was like, you know what? I'm an investor. And if I'm going to learn how to buy multifamily buildings, that 3% is going to teach me something that's going to be priceless. And I basically put in all my money into that deal for 3%. But I learned how to buy multifamily real estate. I went on the inspections. I asked the questions. How does this work? How does the financing work for 5 units plus? What is this world? What does this mean? I was like a 7-year-old. Why? How come? Why? And I learned, but I put my money where my mouth was, and I put myself in a vice grip to learn. When you invest in yourself and a deal at the same time, I think we grow exponentially just faster. I think it's a way to put the squeeze on, but I wanted to bet on me. In my life, when I bet on me, I win. Since I was a little kid. It's scary and it's risky, but I was okay with that. So you have to know when it's time to just risk it. And you got to stand at the edge of that cliff and be like, I'm going to jump and I'm going to build this parachute on the way down, but I'm not going to crash because God's got my back. My family has my back. My friends have my back. I'm not going to stumble. I'm not going to starve. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? So that was the first one where I pushed in, and I lost my mind after that. I spent all my cash on that. I was driving a Ford Explorer, my business partner driving like Lamborghini, Ferrari. All my money went into real estate. I was like, you people are idiots. My whole thing was, how do I stack doors? How do I make this thing real? But I was also sitting in this meeting with my lender, and he's talking about this and that. And he's like, yeah, so you can buy these 2, 3, or 4 unit properties. You can put 3.5% down. And I was like, time out. What are you talking about? I can buy a 4-unit property or a 3-unit property through FHA financing, live in one of the units because I'm currently renting. And then my tenants are going to cover 60, 80, 90, 100% of my mortgage. So I live for free. I go, how come no one talks about this? And he just skipped over. He's like, well, it's been around forever, but no one does it. Some people do this called house hacking. I was like, what? So that's what I did. That was a huge shift for me. I could get roommates. I could actually make money and live for free in where there's so many hacks. If you're willing to educate yourself, if you're willing to learn, you're willing to like do what Omar does. Like you have, there's only one way. You got to throw yourself to the wolves and start swinging. And you are going to sink or you are going to swim. But those were 2 for me that were really important, because real estate agents, especially when the market's good, like it has been for 10 straight years, are like, this is how it's always going to be. I'm always going to make my car payment. I'm always going to make the mortgage payment. I'm always going to have a marketing budget. And when stuff starts to compress, like it has the past 9, 10 months, it gets real. And it's the same with me. I'm finally in a position where like recession smeshing. All it's going to do is create more opportunities for me and my family. But that's because I got my face kicked in.
That's awesome, man. That was good. You guys, hopefully everybody took notes because that shit was fire. Good job. Thank you for that.
Absolutely, bro. Thank you.
And I have a question. You said that when you first started out, you had $400 in your bank account and like no real estate experience. What were the first 3 to 5 things that you would say any agent in that position should focus on right now?
Building relationships. So what I was really, really good at was being in the field. I wasn't super good on the phone because I stutter a little bit, especially when I'm like brand new at something. I get stuck in conversation. So I was like, still am really good at belly to belly. So I didn't know much. And this little firm was like, hey, we just bought these like 6 properties. You need to go talk to the tenants and see if you can get them out. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? Like, because they're going to get evicted. But all that did is that literally like launched me into the field. And when I was in the field, I was meeting brokers and meeting wholesalers and meeting people. In this game, it's just as important to have clients as it is to have allies in your zone. Go to every open house, go to broker preview, meet these people, tell them you have clients, like get submerged in the space of real estate. Real estate is its own language. If you can't speak it, Someone who speaks it fluently like me can tell. I can tell your accent of ignorance. I can tell your accent of just lack of knowledge. And what I'll do is I'll usually chew you up, or I'll just have you run around like crazy for me. So it's important to really submerge yourself in the culture of real estate and learn that language. And what that does is like, you just start to become a person of knowledge in the space. So if you're brand new, learn this game, learn these contracts. I know it's a lot, but that's why you can make 100 million in a year. What we forget quickly, there isn't a ceiling to this game. You want to make as much as like your favorite professional athlete, you can. Like there's no ceiling, but you got to give yourself permission to learn and be that expert.
Andy, this is Sandy with Provident. Question on social media. I am new and I'm getting over that hurdle and posting frequently and everything. But I also see other realtors, you know, on TikTok doing their dance and they're singing and, you know, getting there. And I feel like it's the same old, same old. So is it something I should even consider or stay at? I don't want to stay out of that rut, but I just want to set my side differently because I feel like, oh, it's just another realtor out there singing and dancing. Oh, it's another realtor doing, you know, the same. So do I just stay like what I'm doing and posting, like you said, and where I'm at and doing, you know, the co-branding? I do a lot of engagement more so in person than social, but I'm getting there. So I just wanted your advice on that.
Yeah, great question. And we get it a lot, right? Because there's people that do these super cool dances on TikTok and get followers. That doesn't mean they're getting clients or business. And some clients will be like, why would I trust that dancing clown with a $500,000 asset? Some are like, that's really cool, I would. So I'm not judging. I'm just saying it's so important to be authentically you. If you go out there and dance and you don't love it, the market will know. And the market will tell that you're being inauthentic. Inauthenticity creates lack of trust subconsciously immediately. If you're just you, and my follow-up question to those usually is, what do you like to do? What are some of your hobbies that you're actually passionate about? Is it dogs or cats or movies or like Game of Thrones or Netflix documentaries? Weaving in your personal life and weaving in the stuff you truly love, food, restaurants, pho, tea, coffee, whatever it is, lets them in. It lets the market, it lets your potential clients, it lets your friends and family follow you and say like, look, Andy's an assassin. He's going 1,000 miles an hour. So if there's something that you really like, weave that into your daily story, weave that into your newsfeed. For one, you're already comfortable with it. That's easy content for you to create. If like you, and all I'm doing is regurgitating stuff that I get from one of my mentors, Gary Vee. He's like, whatever you love, like share that. None of this information that I'm sharing is new. I've just put it to work. I took a blueprint and I built a house out of it. So I just implore all of you to do that. So let's maybe work through some of that here on this call. Like, do you have a hobby that you love?
I do. I ride. I love motorcycles.
Awesome. You and I are already homies. I literally, because you just said that, I already like you better and I don't even know you. So that's the power of sharing. I love motorcycles. I love like vintage Triumphs and Harleys. Like I'm a motorcycle guy. You start posting content about your rides. Look at this new bike. All of a sudden your community is like, oh shit, she rides bikes. That's awesome. Now you guys have something to talk about, especially if you're new. You know, you're like, I was hugely into wine when I first got into real estate. So I would go on appointments and talk about wine because I didn't know enough about real estate. So if you weave in the stuff that you like motorcycles and motorcycle content, you will start to attract those kind of people within your community. And then maybe you have like a motorcycle meetup at like a local restaurant and you talk about real estate and bring in someone who wants to like speak about investing, and you get like 20 people at this restaurant, and like it's a comfortable, safe environment, but it's your little networking group. And then all of their friends that live in all those neighborhoods, and all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, this is working. Because you're just being you. If you like to do TikTok dances and you love it, it'll work for you. If you like motorcycles and you don't, it 100% will not.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, or concerns, or do you want me just to keep going?
I have a question. So your posts and everything are very dialed in and very pretty, look awesome. Do you suggest, like, if say an agent doesn't have like a videographer that can do that for you, is it more important to like not post as often and get like a more dialed in thing that you're putting out, or is it just to get out something like every day?
Yeah, so that's a twofold question. Really, really good question. So it's important to have both, in my opinion. So the nice stuff that's all like super polished and it's got good lighting, it's like shot with a really good camera and there's branding in the background and there's a coat on and I'm like, you know, professional looking. That's really good for brand. That's really good for me to build brand and build, like, you know, me as the expert. That's important. If you go to my Instagram feed right now, my highest performing reels, my highest performing content by far, and it's not even close, is me sitting in my car like this saying, like, I can't believe what's going on in this real estate market right now. These interest rates are bonkers. Those always perform the best. Always. It's me, it's raw, it's authentic. The algorithm likes it. One thing about the algorithm I want everybody to understand is as soon as you post that video, a like huge computer, a supercomputer scans it really quick for stuff. Certain words, certain keywords, what's on it, is there text, how is like the pixel. So the stuff that's raw from a cell phone does really well. If you shoot that same thing within the app of Instagram, it even behaves better. So you don't have to have a fancy film crew, but consistency is key. The entire algorithm is looking for consistency. And that's why for me, I usually post 10 to 20 stories a day because it keeps my audience on Instagram. Instagram likes that because they make money off of ad dollars. And then my page gets rewarded for that. So just being on your phone and talking about yourself or your hobbies or real estate or what's going on in the market and its current, like, you know, data always performs super, super well.
Awesome. It looks like there's a couple questions in the chat. What would you recommend to do on our downtime to get ahead of the game after a hard day's work?
Yeah, so you have to give yourself time to recover, and everybody's different. Everybody's different. But my quiet time is between like 4 in the morning and 6 in the morning. And for me, that's before my kids wake up. That's like my peace. That's my, like, you know, time to basically set for the day. But like, it's important for you to know what that is. And is it going to give you power or is it going to take your power? Right? So for me, it's literally about self-awareness. But if like you want to go for a walk or like you just want to link up with somebody and bullshit about like Netflix and you want to have a glass of wine because that's going to help you, then do that. Like if that gives you the power, do it. But you just have to know, like, so is this escapism or is this me actually recovering? And there's a big difference in those. A lot of people escape in a lot of different ways. But for me, I love podcasts. I love to listen to them. I listen to them on the bike. I listen to them in the sauna. I listen to them when I drive. I'm constantly trying to be very mindful of what I feed my brain. And I'm very protective of all of my energy and who I spend time with. Because if I'm around somebody who's having a bad day and it's always a bad day and they just drain my energy, I will usually block out time for those people, but it's like once a month if they're lucky. So again, it just all kind of goes back into what's going to work for you and then giving yourself permission to actually recover. Because this is a stressful business, it really is. And then I got a hand over here from my buddy Oscar. Shoot, brother.
Andy, great stuff, my man. Can you hear me? Right, you can,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Oscar.
Yeah, I love it, man. You know, I got to say that here, I keep getting calls here, but anyway, I got to say that one of the things that you've inspired me to do is really embrace how you do things, right? And it's kind of a question not only for myself, but even maybe some of my agents and maybe people on here is, what advice do you have for those that are having a challenge being that cloud-based agent, being a virtual agent. I know you and I had a conversation on, at your office about how you have that location there more for marketing purposes. It's not really meant to be like a traditional office where you actually like don't want people there, right? The business is not there. And, I kind of had a similar conversation with my team about, dealing with the challenges of getting used to working either from home or just not being at the office and just evolving into this new business model, in this new market. What advice do you have for them there and for us and for me? And what percentage of your day do you actually spend in the office? And so I kind of just want to know, where does your day go?
Yeah, no, super good question again. And this is going to all go back to self-awareness, what works for you and your business. The beautiful thing about having a cloud-based brokerage is you can have no support whatsoever and they just leave you alone and you got your splits and you got your stuff, or you can use all those tools to help you basically grow and scale what you have. For me personally, so I just started this crazy routine in the morning with all this stuff and pure 95% oxygen and saunas and cold plunge and biohacking and all this stuff. So my 30-minute workout just turned into almost 2 hours in the morning. So I'm getting used to what that looks like. So for me, I'm usually at the office for 2 or 3 hours tops. My office personally is a place for me to huddle up with the team, get everybody fired up, do what I need to do, maybe have a meeting or two and leave. It's on this busy street. There's 40,000 cars a day that go by. It's a billboard for us. We leave the lights on at night so you can see in. So for us, it's more of marketing. That's what we're doing here at the office. But if you have a team member that's struggling at home, like a lot did during COVID, everybody's on Zoom. Zoom meetings like this are really powerful. You can have it there in your car. I could be at my office. You could be at your house, and we could get each other fired up. Everybody could go on mute. Everybody could turn their cameras on to make sure we're all being accountable. And we do 1 full hour of prospecting together, and then we report back. So now we have this entire vibe and this energy and this human experience through this digital platform. And then it's okay, here's what we're going to meet up this week for lunch. And we're going to talk about our wins. We're going to talk about our losses. And the beautiful thing about being a team lead like yourself is maybe now you don't have $100,000 in overhead for an office or 200 grand, but you're getting better agents at a bigger result clip because the mind shift is going to take time. And this industry has been firmly planted for 50 years around, if you don't go to the office, you don't do any business. I think in the past 20 years, that's flipped. If you go to the office, sometimes you don't do business because you're not forced to get out there in the field. So I have found in my humble experience, even back when I was in the corporate world, people hide in offices. People get comfortable checking that box. I went to the office today. Well, let's go ahead and track how much shit you did. I'm guilty of it too. There's times I come here and I'm I didn't do anything for 3 straight hours. I bullshitted with everybody. So in my humble opinion, I think the office for certain people can be an Achilles heel. It's like a safe space.
Awesome, man. That's awesome. And that serves me a lot because as a former traditional broker, I'm still undoing a lot of that mindset, like the mentality on how things work. And so I'm rewiring on how to do things. And so I literally just got 3 great ideas from this, Andy. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that.
Dude, 100%, Oscar. And then here's the secret to you guys. If you don't have a physical location, maybe you get that membership at the yacht club. Maybe you get that membership at the country club. Now you're having team meetings there. Now you're putting on small events, and now you're meeting other people that are buyers and sellers. So now you're not literally trapped in your little office, but you're in more of a social environment. Or you go to a restaurant that you guys support every week. If you show up with 2, 3, 4, 10 people to the same restaurant every week, that manager is going to notice, that general manager is going to notice these people are supporting you. Now you're doing private events there. Now they're letting you have meetings there at the restaurant. There's so many ways to hack this. It's insane. You can still lead at a very high level and not have an office. And I just know way too many people doing it. And some of the top agents in the country, they have an office. You will never see them there. They're never, ever, ever there. Those offices are for their agents to see if those agents are going to last for 4 years or if they're not. It's basically like an incubator, or it's like a farm club for the major leagues. And then as
Love
you get older, and I heard that when I first got into the business, I'm like, where are all these top producers? It was a giant first team office. And they're like, they're never here because the business is out there.
100%. Branding, when you're out, is branding really big to you? So it's a conversation piece, right? Tell us a little bit about your branding when you're out in public. What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm constantly talking to people, but I'm constantly videoing. I want my clients, like my friends, my family, my agents to know I'm in the field, I'm working, I'm driving deals, I'm doing this. There's a thing I do called secret meetings. You guys are more than willing to grab it. I'm like, here's where I'm going. And it's just like me just out there hustling. That's me branding myself. That's me looking at properties and saying, look, he eats, breathes, sleeps, and like, this is my whole world. And I show people every day that that's the truth. And once you do that over and over again, you become the real estate. I had a dear friend from high school. She was in the restaurant business like me for decades. She made a career change and we had like a 3-hour sit down and then I mentored her. There's people that forgot she was in the restaurant business because all she posts now 24/7 is real estate, escrow, I'm doing this and blah, blah, blah. You change the market's perception of who you are because that's what you wanted to do. I mean, for a long time, I was the investor, Andy did this. And now I have a traditional real estate team and there's people that are like, oh shit, that's right. He was an investor. Does anybody have any more questions before we jump off? I went a little over, so I apologize. I always want to be respectful of your guys' time.
I think we're good. So I just appreciate all your input, Andy. You do amazing work and just super lucky to have you on here. So just want to remind everybody that these recordings are on the Fiv Realty website, which is fivrelealty.com/masterclass. And you can, go watch this video again, also on our YouTube page. So just follow us and look for next week's masterclass. We'll be posting that on social. So thanks again, Andy, so much for all your input.
No problem at all, guys. And reach out to me on social. I'm here to help. So if you guys have questions about stuff or get lost or confused, send me a message somewhere and I'll get back to you 100%.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.